Matthew Warren's here now with the business, and this week we'll see a renewal of efforts to get on top of the Eurozone crisis because summer, according to these leaders, is apparently over.
Just as we get some nice hot weather in Europe, I know, you almost feel sorry for them, don't you? But they've got to get back to work. Greece is going to be top of the agenda. Now, Greece, of course, has to make 11.5 billion euros of spending cuts. That's if it wants to get 31.5 billion euros of loans, which it desperately needs in the next month. Well, Prime Minister Antonis Samaras is expected this week to ask for a bit more time, 2 years to be precise, for delays to get those spending cuts made. Well, today, the Greek foreign minister was meeting his German counterpart. No sign yet from the Germans that they're willing to accept any delay.
We're convinced that a substantial softening of the agreement and the agreed reforms with Greece is not possible as far as the German government is concerned. But it is necessary that we wait for the Troika's report before we make a decision.
Well, the next key date this week will be Wednesday. That's when the Luxembourg Prime Minister Jean-Claude Juncker will be in Athens as well, meeting the Greek Prime Minister. On Thursday, François Hollande will be meeting the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and then she will meet Antonis Samaras in Berlin on Friday before he then flies to Paris on Saturday to meet François Hollande.
So their appointment diaries are quickly being booked up. Spain is the other big concern, of course, isn't it, Matthew, for European leaders? That's right,
Annette. And on Friday, we'll actually hear from Spain about specifically about their plan for the bad bank, as they're calling it. That's where they're going to put all these toxic loans that are sitting on banks' balance sheets in Spain to try and clear those up. Now, one thing that's been moving positively for Spain of late is this very important benchmark 10-year bond yield. That was up above 7%. It's come down to around 6.2%, moved up again slightly today. Now, we had a German magazine reporting over the weekend that the European Central Bank plans to put a cap on these bond yields and effectively go into the market and start buying, which would, of course, help that yield. But then the central bank itself said today that that report was misleading and that no decisions have yet been taken.
Now, how have markets been responding to this latest round of Eurozone news?
Well, that denial from the European Central Bank, plus comments from the Bundesbank, the German central bank, that it is still objecting to bond buying, soured sentiment in Europe. And as we can see there, everything closing in the red on Monday. And over in Wall Street, they were taking their cue from Europe as well. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq also both trading down today. Well, let me tell you about a French cross-channel ferry company, Sea France. It stopped sailing in November last year, but today its ships were back sailing under a new owner and a new name.
An almost maiden voyage across the Channel. Ferries formerly owned by Sea France made their first trip from Calais to Dover Monday under a new company. Many of the employees on board used to work for the now bankrupt Sea France. They're now back on the water after being rehired by the new cross-channel operator, My Ferry Link.
It's been 8 or 9 months since I've landed at Dover, so it's really something.
The cooperative My Ferry Link is renting 3 former Sea France ferries from Eurotunnel, who bought them after Sea France went under in January. My Ferry Link's employees say they have an added incentive to see the company succeed. Everyone from the commander on down is a shareholder, and each have invested at least 5,000 euros in the enterprise.
Everyone has invested in the company, so everyone really wants to see this work. As crew members, we'll be even more willing to do what it takes to move forward together.
My Ferry Link is hoping to attract 14% of the freight market between Calais and Dover, and up to 10% of the passenger market. But there's stiff competition. DFDS Seaways and P&O Ferries are hoping to push the new operator out by increasing their own presence on the route. My Ferry Link is giving itself 2 years to make it.
This sounds a bit like a Monopoly game. London's third biggest airport, Stansted, is up for sale.
That's right, and the owner of that airport, British Airports Authority, has been fighting desperately an order by the British Competition Commission to sell that airport, already been forced to sell off Gatwick, and they own Heathrow as well. Well, they've been fighting it, but then there was a ruling by the Court of Appeal last month. They've finally given up. BAA is owned actually by the Spanish group Ferrovial. They've decided they're going to sell off Stansted after all.
Now, desperate for work, the jobless rate in Spain is a staggering 25%. Spaniards are crossing the border into France in their droves, hoping to find any kind of employment. Let's take a look at this package.
Marcos Izquierdo hasn't been able to find a job in Spain for the past 3 years, so now he works as a seasonal fruit picker in the southwest of France. For a couple of months at least, the 47-year-old can afford more than just the basics.
Unemployment benefit in Spain is only 426 euros. It pays for electricity, water and food. It's nothing. It's really nothing.
Marcos is one of 60 Spaniards working in this orchard, up from 20 last year. The number of Spanish workers looking for jobs abroad is rising. In the first half of 2012, emigration from Spain was up by 45% compared to the same period last year.
They call us even on the weekends. They send us text messages. I need work, please. If you have any, please send me a message. They're trying to find work by any means.
The company even receives letters from Spanish elected officials asking for help for their constituents.
This is a letter from a Spanish mayor. He sent us a list of people who are looking for work and asked whether we'd be able to give them a job.
In September, the work here will have mostly dried up, but these workers will be trying to put off their return to unemployment in Spain for as long as possible.
And the man who turned a small French family business into a global wine and spirits company died this weekend.
Yes, that's right. Now, the company is Pernod Ricard, and it was Patrick Ricard who took over the company that his father started in 1972. He took it over in 1972, that is. Its first product was, of course, the pastis that carries the family name, and a merger with its rival Pernod followed in 1975. And from there, the company went on to become, in fact, the second biggest global wine and spirits company. It bought Beefeater Gin, Absolute Vodka, Ballantine's whiskey as well, as I say, to become the second biggest company in that field.
And finally, Matthew, this is not really surprising to me, but Apple is officially the world's most valuable ever company.
That's right. Talking of big companies, Apple is the biggest ever. And the reason for that is its share price has gone up and up again. We can take a look at it here. It's up at $664 today. The last time I checked, who knows, it could go even bigger. That gives it a market capitalization of $621 billion. Now, the biggest company before that was Microsoft. They had a higher valuation in their, or they had a slightly lower valuation than that in their glory days during the internet boom. But now it's Apple. But as you say, no great surprise. We're constantly talking about how well their share price is doing. The iPhone, of course, there's expected to be a new iPhone soon, perhaps a smaller, cheaper iPad. That's been helping that share price rise.
Matthew Warren, thank you for that. And that's it for now. I'll be back with you after the break. Stay with us here on France 24.